People with OnlyFans. Have you ever been randomly recognized in public? If so, what happened? Saw a high school girl I always thought was hot 10 years later at a strip club. Had a nice polite conversation. Then she asked if I wanted a dance. Yes. Recognized a guy who works at my doctor's office from his cosplay account, where he also happens to post risk lingerie photos from time to time, which I did not consider when I asked him about it. RIP. I have a Facebook friend that I worked with at a fast food joint when we were teenagers. I forgot all about her until she came across my feed with a post that was actually advertising her of. She is super open about it and posts semi-explicit content to her FB page. No, not in public, but I did have a fan tip me and say, "Hey Ines RT, my real name, I know you from work." It freaked me out a bit since I don't tell many IRL people about it and it could have been a creep. But it turned out to be a cool guy. The first actually had a crush on haha. Obligatory not me, but my cousin-in-law works in porn. We all went out to dinner and this kid who couldn't have been more than 20 years old was at the restaurant with his mom. He keeps eyeing my cousin all shy and doesn't really know what to say. Probably didn't want to mention in front of his mom where he recognized her from. Eventually cousin and the mom were in the bathroom. Mom nicely asked cousin to take a picture with her kid and she agreed. If only mom knew LMAO. I worked with a nurse who was a high-level administrator and a bit of a hottie. Her husband was an attorney who helped set up porn sites for one of his clients. We were at a conference once and after a few drinks she admitted that her butt was a banner for several of the sites. I'd never been to them before, but when I looked at it, it sure looked the shape and color one would expect to be hers. Tame photo and just the one. The next time we got drunk she told me the same story. Was almost the reverse of what Op was probably going for here. My wife knew a coworker who was fired for filming herself fingering herself on a vacant hospital bed for her of account. Someone saw her work badge and reported her. When everyone found out, over half of the staff knew who she was and some of them signed up to her of. Regular at my bar years ago was in Burning Angel. Years and years ago. I never mentioned that I recognized their work. Not of or me, but I saw an ex on a random porn site once. I asked if she knew or not, since she was an early childhood teacher and it could have cost her her career. And she made out it wasn't her. It had her full face and her tattoos with some of her stuff in the background though. So I think she knew the video I was talking about and got embarrassed or something. We slowly stopped talking after that. I remember going through my history about a few weeks later and the video was taken down. Actually, the only people I would pay to see naked are people that I know. Yes, I was recognized at a modeling event I worked. The guy was also a model. I had the misfortune of working next to him the entire time where he begged me to pay me to watch him masturbate in real life. It was weird. Edit. The begging was weird. I did not watch him masturbate. Not sure. But I saw a crush I had in high school on Pornhub a while ago. Surprised the hell out of me. And I haven't talked to her since she graduated. Before I saw. I have been recognized one time by a guy at my favorite coffee shop. He was actually very nice and not creepy, which was awesome. I did send him a picture of my tits with a mug in front as a joke later. I one time swiped on Gabby Carter on Tinder. AMA. There's a girl I work with that intentionally gives out her of info where she works at. She did it at her prior job as well. I think it's either to control the situation or for the added revenue stream. But it spread like wildfire in a place that employs 1,200 people, and I'm shocked she still works here. Just a guy. But I heard it's hard for women to get started on of now because of the crowd. So some will put their of link on their Instagram or Facebook. Yes. Once when I was visiting Dallas, a guy came up to me and said he recognized me by the shirt I was wearing. I had wore the shirt in a public nudity shoot I did. It was creepy because after he said hi, he followed me around the mall. I managed to lose him in a Forever 21 lol. I hope I never experience Thar again. Supposing it's like seeing someone you know at an adult shop. You both know why you're there, yet you can't tell anyone you saw the other there without explaining why you were there, because everyone gets thorny sometimes. I was recognized once on the subway into work. The guy didn't come up to me, but sent me a message saying, "Hey, I saw you on X train." Later, he came up to me in the lobby of my building. Apparently he works in the same building. TBH, it freaked me out a lot, but thankfully nothing bad ever came of it. I had a guy recognize me. Thankfully he was pretty chill. He low-key followed me for a bit, then split ways, then sent me a message on of saying he saw me, and that was it. Half of my family know what I do, found out, but almost none of my friends. I imagine it would be awkward if someone actually came up to me and started talking about my line of work lol. I've never actually been recognized, but I've had guys I'm talking to on the platforms I work on think that I'm someone they know, and I have to convince them that no, I'm not that girl from Arkansas that you know on Facebook. Not exactly. But I did recently have a subscriber asking me to sixt, which was then followed by him disclosing that he actually knows me and was a bit embarrassed. I told him he had nothing to worry about and in general I'm a very sex-positive person. He then revealed who he was and was pleasantly surprised it wasn't an ex or something. Just an acquaintance who I had met a couple times and overall is rad guy. I have a couple friends from real life on my page. But same deal, as long as they are respectful I'm happy to have their support. No answers yet, so I'll chime in. Other way around. I recognized a girl at a party, rave that I'd seen in professional but amateur style porn, just denude photos, not actual 6 acts. She could tell I recognized her. I'm sure. I just said, "I love your work." We became friends. I saw in Snapchat, Instagram model I follow at Trader Joe's who I only recognized due to her gigantic, amazing ass and then her voice. I knew she lived near me. So it wasn't totally out of the realm of possibility that I could have seen her. I messaged her on Snapchat later and she confirmed she had been there that day. She liked hearing that her ass was recognizable. I live in L.A. I saw a very famous MILF porn star sitting at a cafe. It made me do a double take. Left her alone because she seemed to be on a first date with a dude. And I didn't want to ruin the date. Edit. Okay, holy shit. Inbox is blowing up. 1. Thank you for awards, but don't frocking give them to me. Go donate money to the Veterans Hospital or some other charity. 2. I'm not saying who it was. There aren't that many MILF porn actresses and I honestly don't know her name off the top of my head. 3. Thank you for all the jokes. You guys made me chuckle. I found out that Eva Angelina was my downstairs neighbor. What are the odds? 20 years ago I ran into a stripper from the night before in line at the grocery store the next morning. We saw each other, paused for a second, and went about our business like nothing happened. I'm on another camming site, not in public but on Grindr. Once a guy that was 3 miles away recognized me and said he saw my show. Offered to give me a laptop actually. I would recognize that as whole anywhere. Not necessarily the same. But my coworker came into the back one day and told me she just got $400 in her PayPal. I asked, how the hell did that happen? To which she said, I got them money making. Feet. Baby. This is also the girl who agreed to let me take a picture of her having sex for a photography project. She's a waitress, not an accountant. Seen 1 or 2 out and about. I kept to myself though cause they're just trying to live their life and I'm not trying to be a creep. I was in a public bathroom at a urinal. Next to a guy. I could see he recognized me, but couldn't quite place me. He looked a couple of times at my face. He then glanced down at my dick. Alter Edward. He suddenly exclaimed. Sorta the other way around for me. There was a girl who lived in my neighborhood when I was in elementary school. A few years younger than me too. We would have water balloon fights and she was always around. Come to find out years and years later she's a pretty famous porn star now. Blows my mind. I was a cam model on a couple of different sites for my different moods. On screen I would wear a wig, change the contouring of my face, cover up tats and set up the room that there would be no personal identifiers. I've had a few skew looks once I've spoken, but since I don't wear makeup outside of camming it hasn't gone further. Not me but a coworker. Apparently while this coworker was in nursing school she did hardcore porn prior. A couple of male paramedic firefighters recognized her and it quickly got around the that she was a porn star. She had a fake name and people were sharing it. This nurse was mortified and I may have been one of the only select few who didn't treat her differently after this. ******. I once told my boyfriend at the time this story and he says, wow, interesting. What was her name? Good try buddy. I'm not a sellout. Noah, but I used to be a camgirl on a popular site, not to be named. Someone used a recording program and shared videos of me during a set on multiple porn sites, very much against my permission. Well, it got back to my family and other people in the small town I'm from. It's still hard to be seen in public there and my family disowned me for a number of years due to the shame and embarrassment. All because I was struggling to make ends meet. One of my best friends had an ex that another friend randomly found on Pornhub. She was number 86 on the top porn star list at the time on PH. This was just a few months after they broke up, so she must have immediately started making a ton of films. One of my favorite SNL sketches of the current cast answers that question. U2. B. SMHZVB5QY1C. A guy who bought a pair of my used panties lived in a small town that we always stop in when we visit my Phil. He recognized me and my husband at the little burger joint liquor store on the highway from the live 6 shows we do. We all said hi, laughed about it, had a good convo waiting for burgers. And it was nice. Much more normal than you'd expect hearing about a prior used panty transaction. She wanted a selfie with my penis but I said no because my watch commander was present and I wasn't done writing the ticket yet. I had one friend who would only send it to her guy friends lol. I ran into a porn actress at work once. I gave her that, "I think I know you" look and she just smiled at me. She must get that look a lot. I just said, "Hello," and kept on walking. It wasn't until hours later that it hit me. No. You didn't go to school with her. Lol. I'll add my story. But it wasn't a. I did post on Reddit for 1 year. I also made some friends via Kik. Guess I gave out my town one day, because I started getting scary messages. He said I looked really good that day at the grocery store. Then he mentioned that I must love books since I visit the bookstore once a week. So that was the end of that. Blocked. Scared out of my mind. I had my child with me every single time. So getting noticed for denudes is a bit awkward. But being stalked was way worse. Peas. I stopped going out for a few weeks and then I only went out with a group. This is well before of. But I was a denude model for a Japanese porn company and had a group of young Japanese expat boys recognize me on the street in New York. I was with my best friend and she wasn't aware of my moonlighting gig and it took her by surprise. The boys were perfect gentlemen about it. I've had a young guy say, "I've seen a lot of videos," and wink at me. I'm a bartender and 1 year short of becoming a wizard. Back when I worked at the bank, my coworker was an girl. She did the denude cosplay. There's a specific term for it but I can't remember it. I think they're cool about it. I didn't tell her I knew. But she advertised it openly across her social media accounts so I doubt she's bashful about it. You know? Not randomly recognized, but my coworkers know about my page. It's a pretty laid-back place. Though so beyond taking the mic, they don't really care. TFW, a good question is asked, but it lacks a serious tag so you know the replies are all going to be jokes. This post is just a clever way to curate a feed of profiles with denudes. I see you op. Well done. Watched a relationship implode when some guy walked up to a couple on a park bench and told the woman that she looked even better in real life than her pictures on of. Boyfriend looked positively stunned and stands up, leaves her there, and she started crying. Not the, "Oh, I stubbed my toe real bad and I need to let some pain out" type crying, but the, "I lied to someone and it came back and bit me" type crying. Straight up bawling. It was really awkward because she didn't leave for half an hour and I can't leave because I'm taking care of my nephew and I'm not about to cut his fun time because I feel awkward. Just a bad time for her. It never suddenly happened with me on public. But couple of times some of my ex-lovers or some people send me and DM my own link, and they all were happy and kind. Someone who followed me for a while on my partnered Twitch account saw me at a bar. Followed my and we still chat occasionally. He said my voice was super high-pitched and annoying initially. LMFAO, I'm super introverted. That's me faking it. Back before the internet I ran into 2 girls I went to high school with in Utah who were working at a Tampa strip club. I wish there was more to the story, but the one who recognized me first came over after their set and asked me not to tell anyone we knew they were doing it for the money while in school. The other one shrieked and ran off stage and didn't come back out until she'd clothed herself and was the brightest shade of red. I was at the store picking up one of those things that cleans off car battery terminals. I was with my husband and kid. A guy who subs walked into the same area as we were. Didn't say anything to me. He messaged me about an hour later asking if it was me. I said yeah and that I appreciated him not saying anything at the store. I wish it was more exciting, to be honest. Wife has. People have always been respectful in person. We usually chat a bit. What was funny was when an old friend of mine found something of hers and then messaged me. Not sure if I knew of it already or not. What was creepy was when some anon account messaged her about how he knew her at work. Nothing came of that, aside from her reporting it to our. I have 2 instances. One time a dude recognized me at a gas station and said out loud, "You're my favorite porn star." Mind you, I was only modeling denude at the time so it really threw me off, but I'm glad the place was empty. The other instance, a coworker found my IG and brought it up in the break room. He tried to act like he was cool about it, but I was not comfortable. He wasn't obnoxiously loud, but it wasn't hushed at all in a full break room. He was also a problematic employee. So he got fired soon after for making a racist statement to the manager. He may be an unnamed fan on my page, who knows. Totally here to read the comments. Totally not here to check on the profile of the commenters. I'm not a SW, but from time to time I post denudes here for funsies. I stopped doing it often and my profile is no longer as popular as it once was because people would start recognizing me on other platforms, mainly dating apps and the like. I never showed my face, but what they were doing was comparing my background items to determine that the pics on my Reddit and the pics on my profiles were taken in the same place. It was more than one person and it was really getting creepy. Don't do that, sit. Not on of but on Pornhub. It was my aunt. I'm not on of. But I've been camming since the first lockdown and I've had a few people come into my guest chat. letting me know they've seen me around town. Not surprising because I'm extroverted and have a big face tattoo. One guy called me by my legal name, where anyone else in the chat could see. That was annoying. Technically, nobody who's ever recognized me has actually paid for a show with me or anything though. I think they get it in their heads that since I'm local, they'd prefer if I was an escort, but I would never. Yes, a few times. I had a guy run up to me all shy, say, "Hi cute," then run off before I realized what had happened. I had a guy stick his head out the window of his moving car, point at me and yell my username, while walking with a date. Mostly they're super shy and non-confrontational and end up poofing before I can even respond. Not from but years ago I got recognized from Suicide Girls a couple times while at Warped Tour. Both people were super polite. And really nice. I haven't been approached by a stranger. But I've had random people in my hometown find out about my and try to solicit full service work, which has gotten really awkward in a few scenarios. My ex has experienced getting recognized. We're friends. All she really does is wear a wig. Maybe use different makeup styles. But her encounters has been odd if not creepy. Being stalked all the way home, and if not having random guys say, "How much do I have to pay to F at CKU? Your tits are bigger in real life." I once worked with a guy who got fired for filming his in the work bathroom. At first IR was a suspension, but he got drink and sent a mass email chain out with plenty of ranting in the links. Baller move, has to be said. So this is fun. I'm a model, customer support rep for Just for Fans. On top of porn, I also post a lot naked baking videos because I need to do something to give my downstairs a break sometimes. My husband was out walking about today and ran into a couple of friends he hadn't seen in a while. They asked him, "Is your husband the guy who makes the cakes naked?" Truly, I'm a legend, icon and star. I came across a coworker's attempt to get in Maxim. A mutual friend posted on Facebook, "Vote for Anne for Maxim's girl next door," or something along those lines, so I had to look at the link. She's actually kind of a city person, slept with her cokehead boss, got promoted and then married him and had 2 kids. Then she would hit on me in our office. Their life seems pretty unhappy and it shows. So it was pretty weird to see my coworker trying to frolic around in just a thong and fedora at the Luxor. Someone I went to high school with started one. He promoted it super hard on his normal Instagram and I had to mute him. Why doesn't he have a Finsta? He's a nice guy. But I go to Instagram for pets and babies, not mediocre looking dudes posing 6y.